The state of charging in America. Where are we today? It must be acknowledged that Tesla is almost singularly responsible for triggering the biggest evolution in the automotive industry in over 100 years. They proved that electric vehicles can be powerful, efficient, and produced in high volumes. Their rapid rise induced other automobile manufacturers, both existing and new, to introduce EVs in all categories from two-seater city cars to buses and long-haul trucks. However, despite massive investments in battery production, vehicle manufacturing plants, and other elements of the EV ecosystem, adoption has not yet reached the mainstream. One of the biggest obstacles to mainstream EV adoption has been public perception about charging. When driving outside of their home radius, or for apartment dwellers, EV owners must rely upon chargers operated by third parties. To service these drivers, commercial or public charging networks have emerged, targeting non-Tesla EV owners. However, there have been real issues with the rollout of these networks, including many instances where the charging units show up on a map, but when the driver reaches them, the units are found to be non-functional or unavailable. The frustration caused by this has resulted in much bad press, leading many drivers and commercial fleet operators to postpone their adoption of EVs. It is no longer range anxiety that is affecting EV purchasing decisions, with the majority of new models providing well over 250 miles of real usable range. Buyers' concerns have shifted to charging anxiety. The Tesla charging network was originally built solely for use by Tesla car owners. Recently, Tesla has begun opening its network to other brands, which is significant owing to its large footprint and reputation for dependability. This has led to the majority of automakers agreeing to adopt the Tesla plug format, now known as the North American Charging Standard. And a group of automakers has started to build a new network of fast charging stations across the country. Why are there so many problems with charging? Unlike with gasoline pumps, there is more to EV charging than just the plug. For a charger to dispense electricity, a digital handshake must occur between the vehicle and the charging unit, which in the case of publicly available chargers then leads to a further handshake between the charging unit and some form of system that must authorize the charging session. In other words, merely plugging in doesn't necessarily cause electrons to flow. Furthermore, a driver must usually have an account with a charging network operator, often requiring the downloading of a mobile app. In some cases, a credit card or mobile payment method can be used instead of a network membership. To make this simpler, a protocol called Plug and Charge is being introduced, which enables some level of automation. Another major problem is charging units simply not working. Recent studies have shown that, on average, 1 in 5 public fast chargers are not usable at any given time. This causes great frustration for drivers and is a source of the negative coverage that discourages consumers from buying EVs. Another key aspect of improving the EV ownership experience is reducing charging time. Key improvements to both vehicles and charging infrastructure have begun to emerge that lead towards the Goldilocks zone of charging in 10 to 15 minutes. New models from leaders including Audi, Hyundai, Kia, Porsche, and Tesla can accept much higher power levels than their predecessors. Matched with newer high-output chargers, these models can already reach the Goldilocks zone. Reducing charging times will impact other aspects of the charging ecosystem, with charging stations becoming more like traditional gas stations, including retrofitting of existing stations. Will low-cost EVs drive demand? Another significant impediment to consumer uptake has been EV pricing. Most initial offerings targeted the Tesla demographic of moneyed homeowners looking at performance and features more than cost. Between charging anxiety and vehicle prices, the battery electric vehicle market hasn't shifted into the mainstream. This has led many traditional automakers to fall back on powertrains that they know how to build in high volumes with great efficiency. Thus, they can produce internal combustion engine cars and hybrids, each type having many more components and suppliers than battery electric vehicles require, cheaper than EVs for now. However, battery prices are falling steadily, and with new chemistries that allow for lower costs, shifting away from the more exotic raw materials and eventually lighter weight, projections show that building a pure electric vehicle will become less expensive than a traditional or hybrid vehicle within 5 years. More recently, several of the largest automakers have introduced attractive low-cost fully electric models, and this trend is predicted to grow dramatically in the coming years. What about the power grid? A concern of many observers is the potential impact of EV charging infrastructure on the power grid. To address this meaningfully, it's important to understand that the grid is comprised of a vast collection of public and private utilities, With over 3,000 throughout the US, the interchange between these utilities is based upon loading and supply demand. EV charging is intermittent and does not occur all at once. Therefore, it's possible to apply load balancing, primarily software-based, to manage local power needs. The real problem is with the distribution of power, with large substations rarely being in the locations where major EV charging facilities will be situated. Charging stations for commercial vehicles such as Class 7 and 8 trucks, buses, and construction equipment will require large power supplies. This is leading to the introduction of microgrids, on-site battery storage, and in some cases local power generation via renewable energy sources adjacent to newer high-output charging stations. Implementing these is a significant gating factor in building out new charging infrastructure, but is being solved through a mix of funding sources. Where is it all going? As more and more new EV models come onto the market, many of which can add features using over-the-air software updates, essentially becoming software-defined vehicles, the advantages of the technology will become obvious to consumers, and cars will become increasingly networked. Tesla cars already communicate with Tesla's charging infrastructure via cellular to ensure that their drivers have a seamless experience with maximum dependability. This integration will come to virtually all EV models and the support infrastructure with time, and issues such as data privacy and cybersecurity are being addressed by a range of companies and government initiatives. This paradigm shift is about more than the method of propulsion and is likely to be as fundamental as the migration from keyboard-style phones to smartphones. Technologies such as AI, cloud computing, 5G wireless, renewable energy, and solid-state batteries will be key enablers in boosting the shift forward. Despite numerous obstacles and teething pains, the evolution towards battery electric vehicles is progressing, with the ultimate goal of improving transportation overall.